My name's Jay. I'm 26 now, living in a small apartment in the city, trying to forget something I'll never really be able to forget. This story didn't happen to me, but to someone I loved. And what I saw, what I felt through it, it haunts me more than anything I've ever known. Her name was Ria. We were in college together, second year. Smart, funny, wild heart. Always the first one to say, "Let's go out," and the last to leave. She lit up a room, you know? We weren't dating, but we were close. Real close. And that night, if I had just told her to stay or offered to walk her to her Uber, maybe none of this would have happened. It was a Friday, the kind of night you look forward to all week. Campus party. Loud music. People drunk off cheap vodka and energy drinks. The dorm common room stinking of sweat and perfume. Ria was glowing in her red top, dancing like she owned the floor. Around 1:40 a.m., she decided to call it. Said she was tired. I remember her waving goodbye, laughing, phone in her hand. Said she was calling an Uber. I said, "Text me when you're back." She smiled, did that little salute she always did. That was the last time I saw her that night. Now here's what we know, what police put together later. She walked out onto the curb. The app said the driver was 5 minutes away. But just as she stepped outside, a black sedan pulled up. The windows were tinted. Driver rolled it down, leaned out, and said her name. Ria. She assumed it was the Uber. How wouldn't she? He knew her name. The car looked normal, clean. She didn't check the license plate. She got in. The car drove off. 5 minutes later, her real Uber pulled up to the same spot. Sent her a message. "Here." No reply. The driver waited, tried calling. No answer. After a few minutes, he drove off. By 3 a.m., her phone was off. By 4, I had a weird feeling. I texted her. No red receipts. By 6 a.m., I called again. Straight to voicemail. Around 8, the police knocked on our dorm door. They found her barely alive, in a ditch, miles outside the city, near the edge of some forest. She was half-conscious, clothes torn, phone gone. A jogger found her by accident. And when I say barely alive, I mean she was hanging on by threads. Her pulse was weak. Her skin was cold. She had bruises on her wrists, a gash on her forehead, and her mouth was full of dirt, like someone tried to keep her from screaming. The police started the investigation immediately. Campus security checked all the cameras. They got footage of her walking out, standing at the curb, and then a car pulls up. Dork sedan. She walks toward it, gets in. That's it. No plate was visible. The car didn't belong to any Uber on the records. At the same time, they questioned the actual Uber driver. He showed them his app. He arrived 5 minutes after that car picked her up. So how did the fake driver know her name? Here's the part that still creeps me out. There were a bunch of people outside that party, smoking, chatting, shouting each other's names. The theory? That guy had been parked outside, watching, listening. He heard her name being called out as she left. He guessed, and it worked. He played a long, silent game, like a hunter, waiting for the prey to step into the open. The hospital ran tests. She'd been drugged, something strong, knocked her out fast. But he didn't leave her to die. He dragged her out to the woods, dumped her in a ditch, probably thinking she wouldn't be found until it was too late. She was lucky, but luck doesn't erase what happened. Ria didn't remember much, just flashes. The car smelled like peppermint. The driver didn't talk. There was music, low and strange, something instrumental, not on the radio. Something burned into her memory, she said. That eerie tune still gave her chills. She remembered trying to text. Then her arms wouldn't move. Then nothing. When she woke up, it was cold. Birds chirping. Wind in the trees. Her head hurt like hell. Her legs were numb. Then she saw the sky. Then the pain. She couldn't move much. Just a little. She kept whispering, "Help," over and over. until that jogger found her. The guy who did this, never found. No fingerprints, no plates, no cameras picked up his route. He vanished into the night like smoke. We were all shaken after that. No one walked alone. Girls stopped calling rides from the sidewalk. Everyone double-checked plates. But the fear didn't go away. Ria moved back home after recovery. Didn't come back next semester. I only saw her once after. She looked hollow, like part of her got left in that car. You'd think the story ends there. But listen, 2 months after, I was walking home from the library late, headphones in, rain on the pavement. I saw a car slow down beside me, dark sedan, windows tinted. Driver rolls down the window. "Jay?" he says. My blood froze. I stepped back. "Wrong person," I mumbled. He drove off slowly. Couldn't breathe. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe someone really was there for a Jay. But it felt wrong. The timing. The look. I stood there for minutes, shaking. That night I didn't sleep. I haven't used Uber the same way since. I screenshot the plate. I call the driver before I get in. I always check. You should too. Because sometimes the person who shows up isn't who you called. They're just someone who was listening, waiting. And if Ria's story teaches anything, it's this. It only takes 1 second of trust to step into something you'll never come back from. I was in a bad spot. My last roommate ghosted on rent and I was basically couch surfing. Every apartment I looked at was either too expensive, too tiny, or straight up sketchy. Then one night, I'm scrolling this rental app I'd never heard of before, called Nesty or Nest IQ or something. And this ad pops up. It wasn't even listed properly. No photos. Just one line. 1 BHK, semi-furnished. Quiet. Ground floor. Move in today. Cheap. And the location? Right near downtown. Super close to my job. I thought, no way this is real. But it had a number. I called. Some old guy picked up, didn't even say his name. Just said, "You want it? Come now. Cash first month." No questions. I should have taken the hint. Should have seen the red flags. But I was desperate. When I got there, the building looked old. Cracked paint. No security camera. Mailboxes stuffed with junk. The door to the unit was already open. Inside, not bad. Cleanish. Stained carpet, but the windows let in light. Kitchen smelled like bleach. Still, I thought, I can make this work. I gave him the cash.
No lease.
No ID check. He handed me one rusty key and left. That night, I slept on a mattress on the floor. I was exhausted. I remember thinking, it's not perfect, but at least it's mine. If only I knew what was underneath me the whole time. The first weird thing happened 3 nights in. I woke up at like 3 a.m. to this noise. Ugly scratches. It was coming from the floor, beneath my bed. Like claws? Or nails? At first I thought maybe rats. Or raccoons. But it didn't sound like an animal. Sounded slow. Like someone trying not to be heard. I stomped the floor. The scratching stopped. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. Next day I bought traps. Set them around the baseboards. I even Googled how to deal with rats under floorboards. That evening I lit some incense. Try to relax. But then this awful smell started coming through the vents. Rotten.
Wet garbage.
Like mold and sweat mixed with something else I couldn't place. I told myself, old pipes, old building, that's all. But it kept getting worse. Every night around 2 or 3 a.m., the scratching would come back. Sometimes it was pacing. Sometimes it sounded like breathing, like someone lying flat, whispering something just below the floor. I started staying up late, earbuds in, just so I wouldn't hear it. Until the night the breathing came right under my headboard. I swear, I could feel the warmth of it through the mattress. I bolted up. Heart racing. I pressed my ear to the floor. Nothing. Then, 3 slow knocks from under the floor. I jumped back and didn't sleep till morning. I called the landlord the next day. Took a while to reach him. His number didn't work anymore. Had to track him down using the rental app's messages. He showed up 2 days later, looking annoyed. Told me it was probably raccoons. I said, "No, man. There's something down there. It's not an animal." He sighed, like I was wasting his time. But he agreed to check the crawl space. There was a hatch in the hallway closet, small, square door screwed shut. He unscrewed it, and as soon as he opened it, that same rotten smell blasted out. He shined a flashlight down. His face changed. He didn't say anything, just handed me the light. And what I saw down there still makes my stomach turn. It wasn't just garbage or pipes or rats. There was a nest, blankets, fast food wrappers, piles of empty water bottles, candy, a small flashlight, socks, a backpack, and in the corner a person, curled up, thin, face pale, hair matted, eyes closed. An actual human being had been living under my apartment. We froze. The landlord whispered, "What the hell?" I asked, "Is he dead?" Then the man moved. He turned his head slowly toward the light and smiled. Not like a "hey, I'm okay" smile. It was wide, crooked. His lips were cracked. Then he whispered something. "Stay warm." That's when I lost it. I ran outside and called the cops. The cops came fast. They pulled the guy out. He didn't fight, didn't talk, just kept staring at me. The paramedics said he was severely dehydrated and malnourished. They took him away. I asked the officers, "Who is he? How long was he down there?" One of them said, "We don't know yet. No ID. Nothing." But here's the thing. They didn't find any way he got in. The crawl space wasn't connected to outside.
No holes, no unlocked vents.
No broken locks. He was just there. And judging by the amount of trash, he'd been there a long time. Long before I moved in. When I asked the landlord if he knew anything, he got real quiet. Then he mumbled, "I thought I heard something months ago, but figured it was plumbing. I moved out that week. Didn't even wait for my deposit. I packed what I could and left. Slept on my friend's couch for a month. A few weeks later, I got a voicemail. Blocked number. I pressed play. It was faint, breathing. Then, "Stay warm." I don't know how he got my number. I don't even want to know. I changed phones. Moved cities. New job. Knew everything. But sometimes at night, when everything's quiet, I swear I hear the scratches again. Like someone just under the floor, waiting. Alright, so this story still gives me chills, and it's been almost 2 years. My name's Sam. I live in Chicago, work freelance, mostly from home. Rent's stupid expensive, so like a lot of people, I needed a roommate. My last one moved out in the middle of the night. Left a post-it on the fridge saying, "Sorry, man. Needed a change." Never saw him again. Anyway, I posted on Craigslist. Now I know what you're thinking. Why Craigslist? That's sketch. Yeah, I know. But apps were getting me nowhere, and I was desperate. I listed it basic. Private room, shared kitchen and bath, decent rent, no smoking, no parties. Got a few weird replies. One guy said he had a pet ferret named Lucifer. Another just sent a shirtless photo and said, "I'll pay in cash and silence." Then there was Evan. Normal name, normal message. Said he worked nights at a data center. Quiet, clean, needed a place ASAP. We met at a coffee shop. He was calm, wore a gray hoodie, pale guy, dark hair, polite, soft voice, nothing off, no red flags. I ran a basic background check, nothing came up. Paid the deposit. Moved in the next day. First week,
Totally fine.
he kept to himself. Left early, came back late. Never made noise. Always washed his dishes. Honestly, kind of a dream roommate, until I started noticing things. Small things. I went to brush my teeth one morning, and it was wet, but I hadn't used it yet. At first, I thought maybe I'd forgotten I used it. Whatever. Moved on. But then I'd come home and my bedroom door would be slightly open. Just a crack. I always shut it tight before leaving. Then one night, I caught him in the hallway just standing there. 2 a.m., totally still, staring at the ceiling. I asked, "Hey man, you okay?" He didn't answer right away, just nodded and walked back to his room. All right, weird, but people are weird. One night, I stayed up late working, and I swear I heard whispering from his room. Couldn't make out the words, just soft, steady murmurs. No TV on, just him. The smell too. His room started smelling weird, like metal and sweat and something else. I don't know how to describe it. Kind of like old pennies and vinegar. I started locking my bedroom door at night. One morning, I noticed my window was unlocked. I always keep it locked. Then I realized my shoes were muddy, but I hadn't worn them that week. I asked Evan about it. He just smiled and said, "Maybe you sleepwalk." I'd never sleepwalked a day in my life. That's when I started feeling watched, even with the door locked, even when he wasn't home. About a month in, Evan went out of town for the weekend. Said he was visiting his mom. I didn't totally believe him, but whatever, house to myself. I decided to do some cleaning. I vacuumed the hallway, wiped down the counters. Then I passed his door. It was wide open. Now, I don't snoop. I really don't. But something just felt off. I stepped inside. His room was weirdly empty. No posters, no books, just a bed, a desk, and a dresser. And on that dresser, one drawer, locked. Old metal lock like from a diary or something. I swear to you I had this pull, like I had to know what was inside. I grabbed a screwdriver, forced the lock open. The drawer stuck at first, then slid. And inside, there were photos, printed photos, of me, sleeping. Dozens of them. Different nights, different angles. Me curled up. Me with my mouth slightly open. One with my blanket halfway off. Underneath the photos, pages. Torn out journal pages. All handwritten. The first sentence I read said, "He lives my life like it's nothing. He doesn't deserve it." Another said, "I'm almost ready. He won't notice until it's too late." And then, taped to the bottom was a knife. Black handle. Clean. But new. I dropped the drawer. Ran. I called the cops. Tried to stay calm, but my hands were shaking so bad I dropped the phone twice. They got there in 10 minutes. I showed them the drawer, the knife, the journal pages, the photos. One officer asked, "Where's your roommate now?" I told them he was visiting his mom. They ran his name through their system. Nothing. No record. No ID match. The name Evan Carlisle didn't exist. They searched his room, the whole apartment. He was gone. Like really gone. No clothes. No toiletries. No phone. No charger. No toothbrush. The photos and journal pages were the only things left behind. One of the officers looked at me and said, "He never planned to stay. They took everything for evidence." Told me to stay with someone for a few days. That night, I slept at my sister's. I couldn't stop thinking about it. He had keys to the front door. He'd been watching me sleep. For weeks, I kept picturing those photos. The angles, the closeness. He'd been inches away from my face. And I never knew. A few weeks later, I got an email. No subject, no sender, just a photo. Me, sitting on the couch, taken from outside the window. There was no note, no caption, no message. I called the cops again, they couldn't trace it. No IP, no account. Just a burner message sent through some anonymous email relay. They advised me to move, so I did. New city, new locks. I even got a dog. But sometimes, when I walk home late, I feel eyes on me. Sometimes I wake up and check the door 3 times, even though I know it's locked, and I still don't sleep with the lights off, because somewhere out there, Evan, if that's even his real name, is watching, waiting. He didn't want to be my roommate. He wanted to be me. I've lived just outside a small town in Oregon for most of my life, about 20 minutes from the city. Quiet, peaceful, the kind of place people move to when they're tired of traffic and noise. I live alone, small 2-bedroom house, backed up against this dense patch of woods that stretches for miles. I'm not a nature freak or anything. I just like space. I work from home, freelance editor. Nights are my time. I've always liked the quiet hours. But last fall, something happened that made me question everything I thought I knew about quiet. It started with a sound. It was around 11:30 p.m., and I was wrapping up edits for a client. My window was cracked open, and I heard this faint, high-pitched noise. At first, I thought maybe a neighbor left their TV on or something, but it kept going. This soft, uneven crying, like a baby, out in the woods. I froze. I muted everything, leaned close to the window. Yep, it was there. Faint but real. A baby, crying. In the damn forest. Now, here's where it gets weird. I don't know any neighbors around me with babies. And it wasn't coming from a house. It was coming from the woods. I waited, thinking maybe it'd stop. Didn't. It just kept going. Not screaming. Just that soft, desperate cry babies make when they're tired and scared. I'm not a hero or anything, but I couldn't ignore it. I threw on a hoodie, grabbed my flashlight, and headed out the back door. The woods behind my house aren't some cute, walkable nature trail. It's rough, lots of underbrush, branches, uneven ground. But there's a worn path hunters use sometimes, and that's the one I took. As I stepped in, the sound of the crying seemed to grow louder. Not much, just enough to keep pulling me forward. I kept thinking, what if it's a real baby? What if someone left them out here? Flashlight sweeping side to side. I kept going. 5 minutes. 10. But the crying stayed. The same. Same volume. Same rhythm. That's when I noticed it wasn't moving. Babies cry differently when they're cold, or scared, or in pain. This one sounded looped, like it was repeating. I stopped walking, and I swear to God, I felt it. That gut punch of realization. Something was off. I turned in a slow circle with my light. The trees were thick. No animals. No wind. Nothing. Then I saw it. Movement. Just past the trees, maybe 20 feet off. A shadow. Human-sized. It moved sideways. Slow. Like it thought I couldn't see it. My heart jumped into my throat. I turned off my flashlight instantly. Dropped to my knees. I didn't breathe. The crying kept going. But now it sounded closer. I crouched low behind a log, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. That shadow? It wasn't alone. I saw another. On the other side, just a blur of movement. 2 people, maybe more, staying just beyond the reach of the flashlight beam I'd shut off. That's when it all clicked. It was a trap. Something deep inside me screamed, "Get out! Now!" I stayed crouched, slowly backing away, careful not to snap twigs under my boots. I kept the flashlight off. It was pitch black. Every few seconds I'd pause, listen. The baby's cry was still playing. But now I could tell it was a recording. Same few seconds, looping. Just enough variation to sound real. And those shadows? They weren't coming toward me. They were waiting, like they were hoping I'd keep going forward. I turned around slowly and moved, still crouching back toward the trail. It felt like the longest 5 minutes of my life. I didn't run until I saw my backyard lights in the distance. That's when I sprinted. Back inside, I slammed the door, locked everything, turned off all the lights. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking, if I had gone 20 more feet, if I hadn't turned off my light, would I still be here? Next morning, I called the police. Told them everything. They didn't laugh, didn't brush it off. The officer just sighed and said, "You're not the first." Turns out there had been 3 other reports that month. Same area, same crying, no missing children, no explanation. The cops went out that afternoon and found it. Just off the trail, tucked behind thick trees, was a small Bluetooth speaker, battery-powered, looping a crying baby sound, hidden under a piece of tarp. They also found boot prints, cigarette butts, an empty energy drink can. Someone had been out there, waiting. The speaker, cheap, disposable, untraceable. They said it was likely used to lure people into the woods, probably women, thinking they were saving a child. And once they got far enough in, no one would hear them scream. After that, I installed cameras, motion lights, even bought a massive dog. The cops never caught anyone. Whoever set that trap, those people in the woods, they were smart, careful. But that night changed everything for me. Because now, sometimes late at night, I swear I still hear it. That soft, distant crying. And I freeze. Every time. I know it's not real. Or I hope it's not. But the worst part? That shadow. The first one I saw, it wasn't walking toward me. It was stepping back. Like it had already seen me, already picked me, and was waiting.